Thank you
Fantastic.
for
Thank
having
you.
us. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to let Joe share his screen. And I'm Kara Golden. I'm the Director of Marketing for Tiger Home and Building Inspections. And Joe DeLaurentis is here today. We're going to talk about seller preparation inspections and some other seller preparation tips. I see lots of familiar faces and some new ones. So thank you for joining us today. So here we are, seller preparation inspections, less stress, faster sale. Well, I know things are happening very quickly today within the market, but we are still finding that sellers preparing the house for sale makes for a much smoother transaction, and all of those issues that can come up later. So Joe is here to present to you today. If you don't know, we're a family business. So he is my brother. He's also a licensed home inspector for 26 years. He holds his supervisory pest control license for the wood destroying insect inspection, and also is a member of ASHI. He has a background in new construction, building, remodeling. So he's got extensive knowledge to answer any of your home inspection questions today, not just about seller preparations. So a little bit about Tiger, if you're not familiar with us. We are a Connecticut family business since 1992. Our dad started the company. Many of you have probably taken his classes or met him over the years as well. And we do residential and commercial inspections 7 days a week. So we do work for many of you. I know there's some Keller Williams agents that are also licensed in New York. We do cross over into the Westchester, Putnam areas, as well as the bordering towns in Mass, Rhode Island, and then obviously all of Connecticut. And some of our additional offerings, we do obviously the wood destroying insect inspection. We're licensed for that. That's included free in all your residential inspections. And then we also offer radon testing with continuous monitors, well water testing, and mold assessments and testing. So what makes us a little unique is we're a larger company. We do have 22 home inspectors, and you may have your favorite inspector. Feel free to request that person. We also have a number of inspectors with specialties. So if you're working with 203K or home style loans, we have a HUD consultant that is also an inspector. We have guys that specialize in antique homes, new construction, equestrian properties. So just let us know and we'll make sure that we assign the right inspector for your needs. So I'm going to let Joe talk a little bit about COVID procedures. I know we've all been at it for a year now, so we'll just briefly touch on that and then get into our presentation today.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for the intro, Kara. As Kara mentioned, it's been about a year, right, since we were deemed essential, and compliments still to Connecticut Realtor Association for allowing that. As you all noted, it led us into a fantastic real estate market that continues. They still have as a guideline at CTR instruction that when participating in a home inspection, only the inspector and their principal buyers and their agent should be present. We obviously don't always adhere to that. We as inspectors are not the police of this, as it may be, but it's good instruction. And the primary reason is to keep sellers comfortable. There are some little flare-ups here and there with COVID instances. Some of you may have experienced it. We had a listing this week. We had to postpone the inspection because one of the children came home with some exposure, not sick, but if they're exposed, all of a sudden they need to quarantine in the house. And so some of these things keep sellers comfortable knowing that there is a protocol from CTR and that it's being adhered to. Of course, we're all wearing masks now, but initially when this came out, there was a statement about requirement to wear a mask or a cloth face covering when in the property. And that's inside the property, of course. We have provided all of that personal protection equipment to our staff to do so. On our protocols from our side, we talk about attendance with our clients. This is one of the things that has changed. People are more willing now to attend inspections than they may have been a year or 8 or 10 months ago. But we do mention to them this protocol from CTR, try to prevent from bringing all the friends and extended family members and such to traipse through the sellers' homes. Our staff will sanitize themselves and their equipment, of course, washing hands all the time, as we all do, but cleaning our equipment when we go from property to property. We do discuss with our clients that we need to maintain that social distancing. So gone are the days when they can be literally over our shoulder when looking at that furnace or electric panel. Some of them choose to just maintain in a central location, and we report back to them and come get them to see certain things. And of course, others can't be at the inspection, so we offer a phone consultation, a little introduction to the inspection at the beginning, a summary at the end. Some wish for FaceTime or other virtual ways to see things while at the inspection, or a virtual consultation afterwards. All that stuff, we just need to know people's personal needs. Additionally, sellers' personal needs. Is there a seller that's super concerned? Should we wear gloves on that day? Do we need to wipe down the house if the seller provides us with the wipes that they like to use? So things like this are all open to options so that we can keep buyers and or sellers comfortable through the inspection process. So moving on to seller's preparation. We kind of grabbed when we created this a year or so ago, the top 8 preparation things that we see. Service records are a big one. Day in and day out on home inspections, we're looking for current service records on equipment. That could be an oil-fired or gas-fired water heater, could be the heating system, the cooling system, etc. The word seasonal is written there for even more pronounced importance on service records for things that can't be tested seasonally. Air conditioning is a big one. Pools are another one. Underground landscape irrigation systems, generators, things like this. If service records are provided, it's an easy conversation for us as inspectors to comfort a buyer and say, look at this, these folks have had this serviced recently, or hey, there's a year-over-year record of the services here from a reputable local company. This thing has been checked out and maintained. That kind of supersedes people's wishes and wants to actually turn that thing on in an off season when they're not able to. Cleaning gutters is always a big one, an easy one to address as far as routine maintenance goes. Little pieces of moisture damage, trim, windows around the house, doors, etc. I think you all do these things naturally. You know, let's clean up the front entry door, the garage door as it may be. These are the ways that people enter the homes. It's just easy things for sellers to address. Foundation cracks are always a big one. They're not often at all structural, usually just settlement cracking, but can raise an eyebrow for certain individuals. Sorry, I'm getting a message from Kara.
Sorry, Joe, I didn't want to interrupt you. You have it's not on full screen, so I can see your notes and on the side.
I can fix it.
Thank you. That's better. Perfect. Yeah.
How's that?
Yes. Very good. Thank you.
All right. So foundation cracks are an easy one. And if you haven't experienced it, there are contractors out there that charge an awful lot of money to seal some of these cracks in foundations. And those are some things that can be controlled or addressed by a seller. And we don't know what that hot button as it may be for a client. Some people get super concerned about concrete foundation cracks because they've never owned a home before. And as much as we tell them it's normal settlement, if it had already been addressed, it kind of is lessened on the concern. Garage door operation, we all use them every day. We know they make noises and shudder and such as they go up and down, but as we run in and out to work and other personal responsibilities, we just push the button and make it go. It's a great thing to have serviced and maintained because we're going to be checking it at the home inspection and things can come up. Crawl spaces, if there is a crawl space on one of your properties, recommend that the sellers get in there if they haven't been in there in years and check out the conditions. These are often surprising for buyer clients when we as inspectors get into that crawl space. Moisture problems, rodent issues potentially, things like that can be surprising to buyer clients. Light bulbs are a simple one. We have some clients that are absolute sticklers about lights that don't work. You could have a run of recessed lights in a hallway. 5 out of 6 of them are working. Why doesn't the 6th one work? And many of them don't like to accept that it might just be a light bulb or something simple to address. So easy stuff for sellers to take care of. Creating access, this goes for all listings, and even as a buyer's representative, you know, if you show a property and you notice, hey, where is that attic access? It's in the master bedroom closet, and there's 20 boxes of shoes in front of it. These are easy things to clear up and make accessible for the inspector so that they can get in easily to these spaces. In COVID times, it's even more important. You know, we don't want to be touching people's personal belongings in a closet any more than they want us moving their things around. So it's always helpful to have that cleared out ahead of time. And then there's the normal things that, you know, electric panels we need access to. Finished basements can be problematic with that. Water heaters, furnaces, crawl spaces. We had an instance a couple months ago with a padlock on a crawl space on a job site, and listing agent had to call a locksmith who came with bolt cutters and this because the tenant had no idea where the key was and the seller was out of state. So just little things that pave the way. Pets are home more now. Sellers are home more now with everybody working virtually. So a little conversation about what may or may not occur. How long is the inspector expected to be in the home? They can expect 2.5, maybe 3 hours, depending on size and complexity of the property. And it just helps to prepare people for what may or may not. So on the seller's inspection, who can benefit from these? We pulled this from having done this for many years and haven't seen an increase in the last couple of years. We find that long-term occupants, call it 12 years or so and longer, are great candidates for this. There are often many things in our house that we walk past every day and don't acknowledge. They're routine maintenance kind of things, but having them listed out for a seller, and maybe there's a surprise, as our state licensing puts it, significantly deficient item that they may choose to address. And we'll talk about some of the ways that those can be addressed. Doesn't have to be spending money to actually fix it. Estate sales are fantastic for the seller's preparation. Some of these new owners that have inherited a property don't have any idea of the conditions of it. And it's a good way for them to prepare to market the property and understand the conditions. Sellers who haven't been in the real estate process in a long time, we have a very successful listing agent in the New Haven market who deals a lot with long-term occupants. They've been in their house 30, 40 years. And she insists upon them to have a pre-sale inspection in order to get the sellers ready. And lastly, I'll reference the current market. Kara kind of touched on it in her introduction, but many would think, what do we need a seller's inspection for when we got 5, 6 people lining up to bid on these properties? But the interesting thing is, you don't want to tie up that property. You go through those 5 bids, you and your sellers finally figure out who you want to choose, and then they have multiple days of contingency period or what have you. Maybe they do find something that's contingent on the property, and they decide not to buy it, or they try to negotiate. Where did all those other bidders go? Well, they've tried to move on to other properties, right? So prevent that property from being tied up and something coming up after you've gone through this multi-bid situation. And lastly, knowing that some people in the market now are starting to remove inspection contingencies from their offers, maybe this is a way to allow for them to have some idea of the conditions in the property, such that you're not adding more weight to that seller's disclosure. When people take the inspection contingency out of an offer, all of a sudden that seller's disclosure becomes the document that they're relying on to acknowledge the conditions of the property. So maybe a seller's preparation inspection is a good sales tool in that part of it. We'll run through a little example. We call these the not handy family, just to play on the name a little bit. Classic client of current times, right? Migrating from the city, first-time home buyers, in this case, younger professionals. We see a lot of first-time home buyers that have only lived in apartments in cities of late, never owned a power tool. So the not handies are looking at this nice older Gambrel Colonial. Notice how nice the roof is, and we'll see some conversation about roofing in this case as well. On inspection day, they're deciding to bring along their parents as well. And dad is a prior contractor who has contacts in the construction industry for a lot of things as well. In scenario one, we'll look at what happens if we did a seller's preparation inspection prior to listing the property. On this job, we came up with some carpenter ant evidence, suggested that a exterminator treat the property, and also to consult with a contractor to make some repairs. When they pulled some of the trim apart, they identified that the carpenter ants had gotten a little bit deeper into the wall, and all this stuff was treated and addressed prior to putting the property on the market. You saw that nice new roof on the main house. So there's a little side addition that was constructed on a different time frame or cycle. This roof is older. However, with some cleaning, could be made functional and have some years useful life to it. And in this case, we recommended evaluation by a roofer to look at those options. Can we clean it? Can we make it serviceable? Can we get a letter from that roofer to say there's 3 to 5 years useful life left, or maybe it needs replacement, and there's options to handle that. Also, they added a bathroom on the first floor. In doing so, they had some difficulty in getting the right pitch for the plumbing, so went ahead and chewed through several of the structural joists there. That's an engineered framing component, and you're not allowed to cut that bottom cord. Again, not that difficult to address, but as soon as you start to talk about structural components being drilled, some buyers get a little bit concerned and leery of that remodeling project. So we made recommendation for a framing contractor to address that, re-support those issues. Of course, in the report, there were some additional maintenance type suggestions: cleaning gutters, repairing and painting some areas of rot around the front door, a garage door opener that didn't work well, needed to be serviced. An active leak in a bathroom had caused some apparent visible mold and damage to a cabinet, so that faucet needed repair as well. And then there's a few miswired outlets, not uncommon for an older house to have. So this proactive seller decided to go ahead and make some of these repairs. Some just choose to get estimates and provide information to buyers and say, listen, I know there's a couple of things that need to be addressed. Here's what it might cost you as you take occupancy to plan ahead. But these folks spent, $300 on the carpenter ant, about $1,000 on those contractor repairs there because it got into the framing and such behind the trim. They decided that the roof was repairable, so they cleaned it, made a few repairs, but also obtained a quote from the roofer to provide to people, and a letter saying there's 3 to 5 years useful life. When it needs replacement, you can expect about a $2,500 repair. Garage door, you can see the cost. The bathroom leak and a new vanity. They had their son come down and put in a nice IKEA vanity there, and cleaned up that room, and some other miscellaneous electrical and maintenance type repairs. Their total cost $2,700 to tune things up and address some of these issues that would have come up on a buyer's inspection. So the second part of this scenario is to look at what happens if they didn't do the seller's inspection and a buyer's inspection came up with similar issues. How does a buyer potentially react to those things? There may be renegotiations and or additional stress added to all parties in this circumstance, probably including yourselves as realtors. The buyers scramble for contractor quotes. In this case, remember, Dad was a builder and has friends in the business, so they're able to get those quotes, maybe sight unseen, and of course, possibly exaggerated or inflated numbers for the purpose of negotiation, quite frankly. The buyers make some seller's requests. We often also have appraisal requests come in. Those foundation cracks are a big one. I often have to write letters, even after we've issued our home inspection, saying this is not a structural crack. It should be sealed just to prevent moisture entry. An appraiser wants a specific letter stating that crack, information about the crack. Is it structural? Is it not? Has it leaked? And these kinds of things. So again, they can help with appraisal type issues as well. Of course, buyers can become overwhelmed with all this stuff, and we never really know as inspectors what may be the hot button for some of these folks. Sometimes it's something that another buyer may simply just shrug their shoulders and say, we'll take care of that. It becomes a significant issue for certain folks. So these folks decided to turn towards renegotiation. They got some quotes that were different from what the sellers were able to handle as they controlled the situation or drive the bus, as we like to say. Their carpet grant treatment and repairs totaled $2,200 instead of $1,300. They got a quote for a new roof because they figure they're going to have to do it in the future. $4,000 that included some inflated numbers in case they had to do something with the roof backing, plywood below, and flashing. Garage door was about the same. Their bathroom, they chose a nicer vanity and assumed that they might have to do some mold remediation. So that got bumped up to $800. Their electrician was a little bit higher, and then they just threw in some money for other maintenance items. So far from our $2,700, we're up to about $8,000 that they turn around and try to renegotiate for, or assume that they've become somewhat disenchanted with the purchase as well. Any questions on those scenarios or sellers preparation inspections?
I do have a couple questions chatted in. First of all, do you also refer clients to remediation vendors?
Yes, we, in some cases, the inspectors may know individual local folks, but we also have a contractor database on our website, tigerinspect.com. By county, people can choose the type of contractor, and they'll get multiple choices of appropriate contractors.
Thanks, Joe. And also, I'm a resource for you. I often know some different vendors in different areas that we have relationships with. So you can go on our website, you can call me, email me, send me a text. I'm always happy to help out with that as well.
So go ahead, Karen. Quick question for all of you. This came up on a couple of recent seminars. I don't see, or we don't see as inspectors, what happens after home inspection. And the question that came up was, is there more renegotiation going on because people feel like they're overpaying, or is there less renegotiation going on because it's multi-bid situation in most circumstances? Does anybody have any feedback on that and what's going on in the market from your perspective?
Feel free to unmute yourselves and chime in if you have an opinion. Quiet crowd. All right, I'm gonna. Anybody? Otherwise, I'll keep reading the questions.
I'll just share. This is Donna. Hi.
Thanks, Donna. Hi.
Hey. So I'm seeing less renegotiation. I'm seeing less renegotiation for exactly that reason. They don't want to lose it. There's something clever that a buyer and their agent put forward on one of my listings. They said that they would take care of any inspection items that any single item was less than $10,000. So I thought that was kind of neat. So if one item came up, let's say the roof was shot, they need a roof and it's going to be more than $10,000. Anything else, even if a bunch of little things total 10,000, but one single item, I thought that was kind of a clever way to do it.
That's fantastic. And you know what? We should get that written into the standardized contracts, and we'd be back to where we were 20 years ago. It'd be fantastic. Get rid of all this minutia. So thank you, Donna. I appreciate your input.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
That is what I see. Buyers will want to make it easy on the inspection, and they want to do what they call inspection light. So what they do, they put in a structural and safety issues only. And in my experience, that doesn't really mean anything because so many things can be a safety issue. You know, the doorknob is loose. That's a safety issue. One time somebody found that the fireplace had something wrong. There was a safety issue all of a sudden. And so how can we, you know, how do we accept that, or how do we detail that a little bit more?
So what I would suggest you do is look towards the verbiage in our licensing standard. Says that we are required to identify and report on items that are significantly deficient or are at or near the end of their service life. That may be one way to help that. You know, and again, I know this is a conversation about current market, but I really wish real estate contracts addressed a lot of this stuff, because what you're stating has been true for a long time. There's always this loose interpretation of what's potential for negotiation. So maybe significantly deficient is a good term to use. You know, I think that structural safety would destroy the insect conversation has been around a long time in the real estate community. I think any of these things can be bent or swayed for the purpose of the buyer in many cases. So maybe a local attorney could help you with something, you know, a little bit better verbiage.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, great question.
So just a couple other questions that were chatted in, Joe. Somebody asked about sharing the slides, or is there a checklist? I do see that this is being recorded. We don't typically send out the slides of the presentation, but we also do have a handout that's called Preparing for Inspection Day, which are some tips that are in this conversation and others for buyers and for sellers, which I will make sure to get out to all of you as well. And then the next question was, how much is a seller's inspection?
So our seller's inspection pricing is the same as our buyer's inspection. We use the same procedures. At one point, about 10 years ago, we tried to do a reduced scope inspection and therefore reduced price. But what happens is it's difficult to compare that to what a buyer may find after the fact. And really, without us going through the whole house, we don't gather all the information that we need to form opinions of things. So our pricing in general for buyers and or sellers inspections is based on size of the building and age of the building. And essentially we get that information from clients and price each job.
Great.
Anything else?
Move on right now. Yeah, thank you.
So next up, benefits of sellers preparation inspections, overcoming some of the objections. If you're a fan of this and you try to discuss it with your listing clients, and then how our Tiger sellers prep program works. The importance of maintenance issues, or over 50% of the things we find in home inspections are really just routine deferred maintenance. And we say this time and time again throughout the home inspection process to try to comfort the buyers and realize, to the conversation that Donna and the other person that brought up a question, I'm sorry, I don't see your name on the screen. You know, what is important for the home inspection? What's significantly deficient? What's structural? Most of this stuff is typically able to be handled by a competent homeowner or a handyman. Poorly maintained homes, obviously this stuff starts to, in abundance, wear on buyers, and they realize that there's a lot to catch up on that may not be big stuff, but becomes big because it's repetitive. Well-maintained homes do stand out against the competition. They give a buyer confidence for that purchase. Sometimes people choose to disclose these deficiencies. In other cases, they may choose to just get prices on those things, and sometimes they choose to address some of them. We do provide what we call an inspection binder. Some of you do this for your listings anyway. Ours has the tabs already filled out to direct people. Here's where you can put your service records for heating equipment, prior remodeling receipts, things like that, to guide folks in how to leave something out. I can tell you from experience, when I can walk in and see a lot of this information sitting on the kitchen table and go through it with a buyer client, it's very easy to start to complement the property. Unfortunately, by nature, our service, it can be negative, negative, negative. Look what's wrong. Look what needs to be maintained. This is an easy advantage when we have this kind of maintenance information or upgrade information to go through with a buyer to complement the property. And of course, all parties can avoid surprises. The seller might get a surprise when we find it, but surprises that may cause bumps in the road or delays in the process tying up the property. Some of the objections that we've heard from sellers on this, many people may call and start to talk about this. You know, I don't want to spend any money that I can't recover. I consider it an investment. A lot of our clients on the buying side say, wow, I really wish I did a home inspection every few years, all the years that I owned my house, and I would have kind of a punch list to take care of my house. Incidentally, we're open to that conversation as well, but that's the way that it's an investment in their home. It's an investment in preparing for this transaction, so that, you know, we don't have all these stressful things piled up in a post-contract situation. Sometimes it delays the sales, right? You might have mortgage and tax costs. You have ongoing utility costs. You could total, if you tied the place up for a couple months, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars. There's often the question about what happens if a buyer finds different issues. Our feeling on that is you're hiring a professional to do the seller's inspection. We all live under the same licensing standards. We should be conducting the same inspections. Yes, opinions may differ. I can speak from experience. We had an incident where we did a seller's preparation inspection. The buyer's inspector came in, said there was a mold spot in the attic. They didn't do any testing. There was no confirmation that it was mold. The buyers, of course, became concerned. When we were alerted to the situation, we asked if there was any testing done. We went back, provided the service to take a surface sample. Turned out it wasn't mold. So, you know, opinions can in fact differ, but working through the situation is certainly possible, and there shouldn't be anything different found. I'll have to disclose the information. Well, my feeling on this is the buyers are going to find out about it at some point anyway. So better to know about it, have the ability to address it and move through it without it being part of the real estate transaction. And then, of course, I think I've spoken to this already, but many people feel like they get a list of things that they have to do. Well, they don't have to do it. They don't have to fix it. Sometimes just using that report as a sales tool may alert buyers to the conditions that they can address. Additionally, sometimes you can take care of a few of the maintenance things or just get contractor prices on some of the bigger things. Again, prices that you control. As a seller, you can go out and get 2 or 3 estimates. One of them may be grossly inflated. The others may be more appropriate. And of course, those are the ones that you can provide to a buyer so that they're not running around trying to find a last minute contractor to give them a quote on a roof or a heating system. And our little quote there is akin to my control of the situation, right? Knowledge is not just power, it's control and the ability to know what's going on through the process. I touched on this a little bit. It's somewhat repetitive, but you can decide what actions you choose to take once you've identified some of these conditions. And yes, some of these are things that we may walk past every day in our home. Every time I get ready to do this presentation, I think about my bedroom door that's delaminated, the little bit of rot on my back door at my house, the gutter that my son bumped into that doesn't drain very well. So we all live with these little things in our house. And you know, when when a buyer gets in there that's quite particular, all of a sudden they're scrutinizing, you know, a 20, 30, 40 or 100-year-old house that has a few little things wrong with Addressing these maintenance suggestions is a good idea. Creating that sales binder, service contracts, repair receipts, any manuals for the property, a nice history of updates or things that are included is very helpful. The left image is an example of the tabs in that binder that we can provide to sellers if they're interested. And some of our clients actually take us up on a yard sign that shows the house was previously inspected as well. Kara mentioned a couple of the flyers. This is a seller's preparation flyer that many of our realtors and or attorneys use to provide information to people about seller's preparation. Sometimes the conversation goes well and it's kind of foggy as to what all this means. This puts it on a piece of paper if it's printed and or a PDF, and we will send that along to you if you're interested as well. And then this one's great for any home inspection timeframe. Inspection day preparations. There's a nice list on the left for the buyers to understand what they're up against, and another for the sellers. We just had a little circumstance come in this morning to the office. There was an upset seller concerned at how long people were in her house. She didn't know that the buyers were going to be coming. She felt that she was removed from her home and couldn't find a bathroom anywhere in her town to use for 2 hours. A lot of this is just lack of communication. If that person was made aware that, yes, the home inspector is going to be coming in and he's going to have to touch everything in your house. We'd have to do that to run faucets, check light fixtures, electrical outlets, etc. And I know it's hard during these COVID times, but this is where communication is key. So there's another document that we'll email out to you to help with these processes. And lastly, choosing home inspectors, something for your clients to be aware of and for you to be aware of with your referrals. Notice the first two bullets have the word fully in front of them. We reference this because on licensing, there is an intern program. In order to get your home inspection license in Connecticut, you have to take a course, a 40-hour course, not unlike your initial real estate course. From there, we have a 100 inspection internship. At that point, an inspector possesses an intern permit. You can work under that intern permit and actually conduct home inspections. You can have your own business on an intern permit and things like that. As a matter of fact, some people go years without ever getting their full license. So it's important for clients to understand if an inspector is fully licensed or working under an intern permit, meaning that they haven't finished their intern 100 inspections and haven't taken the National Home Inspection exam to get their full accreditation. And fully insured, always important to know that the state of Connecticut does not require home inspectors to carry insurance. New York does require a errors and omissions insurance policy, as does Massachusetts, but Connecticut does not. Errors and omissions is often the first type of insurance that's asked about. Remember that liability insurance is important as well. A simple example of that is what happens if an inspector's ladder is blown off in the wind and breaks something, falls on a car on the property. Workers' compensation insurance, know for your listings who's coming on the property. Is it an employee who doesn't have workers' compensation? What happens if that individual is injured when on your seller's property? So acknowledging that insurance is important. We, as a responsible business, carry all three of these types of insurance. I talk about it because we spend a lot of money on it to do the right thing, as it may be. Customer service, we've always found very important to be accessible. We have in our office 6 individuals answering phones from 8 to 8 daily, and then 8 to 6 on Saturdays and 4 hours on Sundays, so that you can access us as realtors. Your clients can get to us for information, scheduling appointments, report copies, whatever it may be. And offer those environmental tests. Kara mentioned some of this as well with our environmental team. We can get out to properties before or after or during the home inspection to expedite environmental tests. We do include the termite inspection or wood destroying insect with every inspection. And we monitor and closely adhere to the Connecticut licensing standards that I mentioned a couple times to you. Reputation, time in the business is very important. And one of the things we've done through these presentations and coming to your offices, whether it's virtually like now or in person, we learn a lot about your business. We learn a lot about what you're up against on a daily basis. And that's helped us to create a service that helps you and your buyer or seller clients to move through the real estate transaction with our help. Ready for a raffle? Do we have any more questions from anybody?
So I don't have any more questions. If anybody wants to unmute themselves and ask a question, feel free. I have nothing in the chat. I do have a question. I have a question. If Rick is still with us, can you send me the email list of people that are on today? Or should I send the handouts to Adonis to distribute? What's the best way to do that? I'm not sure if we have. Well, I'll follow up and ask those questions. I know you're all sending me your email addresses. I appreciate that. I might be able to just download the list directly.
Looks like Rick's not getting the Panera bread.
I did pick my winner with the help of Donna, who picked a number for me. I have Stuart. Sorry, I didn't write down the last name. G. So congratulations.
Thank you.
There you are, Gertz. I will just reach out to you. I can send that to your office, or I can send it to you directly if you prefer.
The office is good.
Okay.
Yep.
And you're in Stamford, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, great. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Send them off
Appreciate it,
to you.
Kara. Thanks.
And
Thank you all for your time. I'll also offer to all of you, if you see something, whether you're out on a showing or it's at a home inspection, or you're reading a home inspection report, if we're not involved in the circumstance at all, take a picture with your phone, send us an email. We're happy to help you. This is how we've developed business relationships over all the years. So look us up if you need something, and we look forward to working with you and your clients.
it's great to see you all again. And again, as Joe said, reach out anytime, and I hope to see you all in person very soon. Have a great day and a great end of the week. I know it gets super busy for you guys starting today through Sunday, it seems.
Yeah, bring on all those new listings.
It's an interesting pattern we're seeing, how all the listings pop up. You guys are crazy busy all weekend, and then our phones explode on Mondays and Tuesdays.
Yes.
So good luck out there, and reach out anytime.
Thank you so much. This was great. Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a great day.